Close the deal, baby. Let's go. I get so good with people, I can say whatever the hell I want to.
I'm so happy to have you on here. I never in a million years would have thought I'd been sitting on Instagram with my dad, y'all. Like, this is crazy. So y'all smash the like button, man. We got 200 plus people showing up already. This is crazy. My dad bringing them out. 223 people. This is absolutely crazy. While y'all on here, let us know the city and state that y'all checking in from. I want to know where everybody's at. I want to know exactly where you guys are living. I want to know East Coast, West Coast, where y'all at? Give me them cities and states.
You are doing all that any father could ask a son to do, and you're an example to others. And you know, like I said, or say oftentimes, it's not about you falling down or the trials and tribulations that you go through. It's how you deal with them and what you do to turn those situations around and bring out the best in you. I think oftentimes we need adversity to actually let us know who we really are. And so obviously with what you've been doing, blowing up the place, hey, that's my son who I'm well pleased.
See where we at in here. We got you done brought a whole crowd out here, Dad. Holy crap.
Right.
You brought them out. Orlando, Florida, Atlanta, Pennsylvania. All right. Richmond, VA. Philly in the building. Okay. The third coast, South Florida. H-Town, Texas. I love Texas. Y'all show so much love. Buffalo, New York. Houston, Texas again. Orlando. Everybody. I mean, Atlanta. I love everybody from so many places. This is the best thing about social media is from all these different places around the world. You guys, Angelo Crowell, Buffalo Bills in the building. I appreciate everybody showing up tonight. Crowell in the building. I see you, Crow. I appreciate everybody that's joined on this live tonight. So this thing, I'm gonna let you guys know. I'm just give you kind of what we're gonna run through tonight because you know obviously this is something that's a free training with somebody that obviously has got a lot of experience in the building. My dad's built a multi-million-dollar business in the real estate industry, so he's gonna give you some breakdowns on a couple things about the importance of entity structure. The importance of having a plan and how he went from working a full-time job, 60 plus hours a week, to now controlling his own business and having his own capital. So I'm gonna let you run the show from here, Dad. Appreciate you joining.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Glad to be a part of you guys' interaction tonight. Looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you guys in the near future. I know some of you guys have been following my son and showing him a lot of love, and I appreciate that. For those of you, he's already gave the introduction. I'm Tony Robinson, Sr. I've been investing in real estate for 23 years now. For some of you that don't know my story, I started, I grew up Washington, D.C., went into the military back in 1978 before many of you were born for sure, and had a military career traveling across the world. Last assignment was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 82nd Airborne. For those of you military folks on there on the line, I'm just going to say, whoa, 82nd Airborne. And retired from the military in 1994, took an early retirement and got out of the military and decided that I want to see what I want to pursue in my next life because I knew that I didn't just want to stay in the military and be a lifer. So I came up to an area just outside of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, pretty depressed area to say the least. For those of you that may have heard Tony's story, he just about had to fight every day. I had to go pick him up, go out to the principal's office just about every day because of a lot of racism and things that he experienced while we were going through that period. Sometime in 1996, one thing I want to say to you guys to encourage some of you all, I was in the military for just a little bit shy of 17 years. I never owned a home. The entire time I was in the military, of course, Uncle Sam provided housing for me, so I never had to worry about a house. When I got out of the military and went to this job to work as an environmental health and safety manager, they provided me with housing. So I still didn't have to get a house. So I knew nothing about a mortgage, a contract for deed, a lease option, a subject to transaction, installment sales. Didn't know anything about anything with real estate other than I knew I always had a roof on my head, never had to worry about it. And sometime in 1990, actually was late 1995, December 1995, I saw a Carlton Sheets infomercial. That infomercial was running. It seemed like it was running constantly. Every time I turned the television on, that commercial would be running, and I would see these individuals laying on the beach or sitting in front of these big, nice houses talking about their net worth and how they went from $0 to now their net worth was XYZ million and whatever. And of course, like many of us, I just knew they were full of junk, just to say the least. But it seemed like that commercial was calling me, because every time it seemed like I turned the TV on, whether it was early morning, late at night, no matter what, could run home for lunchtime, because the house that we lived in was right across the street from where I actually worked. So I could walk to the house and I could go over there at lunchtime and that infomercial would be running. You guys, for those guys, you guys that don't know me, I'm a believer. And at that time, I didn't know anything about it, but I believe that that was God calling me to what he would have me do in this life. And I bought the Carlton Sheets program. It said 90 days or your money back guaranteed. And you guys know we like to hear stuff when it says money back guaranteed, because I bought it with no expectation that it was going to work, with a plan on definitely shipping it back, getting my money back. And within the first 90 days, I bought my first property. And I bought that property for myself and for Tony to live in. And when I bought that property, I had no closing cost, had no out-of-pocket expense whatsoever, and actually bought the property and got $7,500 back at closing. So I closed at like 9:30 in the morning, went back to the attorney's office like 2-something in the afternoon and picked up a check for $7,500. So that was my first deal. I had the seller to leave a numerous items in the house. I negotiated that thing, doing all the techniques that he actually, Carlton Sheets, spoke of in his course. And for those of you guys that don't know anything about courses, I think I said this the other night. If you can see behind me just a little bit, or to my on your screen, you can see books on the shelf. And I'll just tell you right now, guys, education is key. And so if you look back there, I've spent well over $225,000, $250,000 plus in education over the years. So always educate yourself. Always believe in education. So I'm going to show you real quick. Is that most of y'all on this call don't know nothing about this. Y'all talking, I think I did this on Maxwell's podcast several weeks ago, and he was telling y'all to Google these, because y'all don't even know how to play them. But this is what I was looking at, okay? And so I had the books, and I had cassette tapes, and when I bought that house and saw how this stuff worked, I just dove in and decided that, hey, let me just see what I can do with this, and just completely tuned in on what I could do with real estate. I ended up buying several properties, but I did, kind of was working at a snail's pace. And then somewhere in 2000, the light bulb went off that this is actually what I needed to be doing. And so I continued to educate, continued to focus, develop the plan for how I was going to leave corporate America and stop exchanging hours for dollars and go out here and apply the principles that I had learned through real estate to do and be all I could do and be. So what I want to do is, like I said, I want to encourage somebody, because all of the things that I mentioned earlier, I never knew anything about a mortgage, didn't know anything about a house, deed of trust, and all these things that I didn't know. Most people consider me somewhat of an expert in those areas now. And so I know that if I can do it, and there's many of you on this call that are much smarter than I'll probably ever be. But I tell you what, you're going to have to bring it in this real estate game, because one of the things I'm always saying, I ain't tooting my horn, but ain't nobody bad like me when it comes to this stuff. So this is what I do. I do this.
Hey, listen, so we're going to get you a shirt for that, because I think you said enough. Ain't nobody bad like me. I'm going to put that in the clothing store for everybody to go get my dad's shirt. Ain't nobody bad like me.
Yeah, ain't nobody bad like me. So the thing that I always encourage you guys, and before I actually really get going, is that, one of the things is I always tell people, believe in yourself, believe in and have a dream. Oftentimes I tell people we don't even dream anymore. We allow somebody to take everything from us. We allow a situation. Maybe you had some bad parenting. Maybe you were exposed to some things that you shouldn't have been exposed to as a kid. Some of us are holding a lot of things inside that actually prevents us from being and doing all that God would have us be and do. So what I want you to do is just believe in yourself. That's the first thing. I tell people all the time, and I said this actually at the We Live a month ago, I said that oftentimes what you have is that people that do attend workshops and attend training, it says, the statistics say that 90% of them won't do anything. 90% of you guys listening to Tony and whoever else on YouTube and whatever you're listening to and educating yourself are so afraid, and you suffer from analysis paralysis. You're listening, but you're afraid to execute. Take massive action. Imperfect action beats non-action any day, beats perfect inaction any day. So always, just take action and believe in yourself. Most of you guys on this phone, on this chat right now, have room to fail. You're so young, you can fail 15, 20 times and still get back up. So again, it's not about you falling down, it's in you getting back up. So just always remember that there's something bigger for you. Don't let somebody devalue you and tell you what you're worth by what they're willing to pay you, because you're bigger than that. You're better than that. There's a bigger plan for your life than that. So just believe in yourself and dream. And dream about something and have a purpose. Like I said earlier, I'm retired military, jumping out of airplanes in 82nd Airborne years ago. And one of the things that I oftentimes tell people is that, that get into this business. I see a lot of people get in this business and they may be in the business 2, 3, 4 years. And if you ask them what's their plan, what's your objective? What are you trying to achieve? You get that deer in the headlights look, because they don't know. Because all they're looking for is a deal. I'm looking for the next deal. Well, yeah, the business is composed of deals for sure. You have to find deals to be able to reach your objectives. But if you never have a plan, you're going to find yourself, I guess, walking through the wilderness, because you're not going to have anything to focus on. You got to understand that this business is not, I think Flip This House and all those programs on TV make people think that this is something that's just easy. They don't tell you that it took them 3 months or 4 months to make that series that you saw in 45 minutes. So it's hard work, and you got to be willing to put in the work. You put in the work for somebody want a job, and some people don't understand that, that in this business, this is an industry and a business where you are actually in all reality, just one deal away from being able to change your life circumstances. One deal away from changing your life circumstances. I've had individuals that have bought properties under my coaching where they've actually had people pay them to buy their house. So if you listen to what I just said, I said someone actually paid them to buy their home. And I'm not talking about a junk home. I'm talking about a home that was move-in ready. I've had one individual, I've had individuals get paid $30,000 and in excess of $30,000. I've had a great number of people pay me to buy their house because I bought their house in a manner where it met all of their objectives and what they wanted to achieve in regards to that transaction. They wanted out, and they were willing to pay their way out because of the way that I explained to them that, hey, I'm an investor. I have to be able to make money in this. I have to be able to realize some profit somewhere down the road. And right now, if you're asking me, asking $150,000 for a $150,000 house, How do I make money in that situation? How do I realize a profit? I have to be able to realize a profit. And so how do we work? How can we collaborate on this to where it works for both of us? And so one of the things I always like to tell investors, particularly you guys out here beating the bricks and trying to find deals, is that one of the things, and Tony, I know Tony talks about it in them 21 secrets. You look at a resource for them during 21 secrets. I'm just gonna mess with it. But one of the things that's one of the greatest attributes and characteristics that we have, what we need to develop as investors, is the ability to connect with the seller. Your ability to connect with the seller emotionally. Okay, when you connect with someone emotionally, it's game on. It is game on. Because what actually happens, guys, many of us go into a property and we go in there with this Inspector Gadget mentality that you're looking for a deal, and we're so intent on trying to beat a seller down in price. How can I beat this person down in price? So we walk in, we got our pen or whatever behind our ear, and we're sitting here with a notepad and we're trying to write up everything in front of the seller and let it, we just barely said hello, and we're in walking around kicking stuff and beating up the man about his house that got Kool-Aid on the carpet and the water stain on the ceiling, and we're trying to point all this stuff out. Well, I usually tell people, when you go in there with that type of mentality, you're probably gonna get the Jazzy Jeff. For those of you who used to look at the Fresh Prince, you used to see Will's dad kick Jazzy Jeff out. You see him going out like this. That's probably what you're looking for. If you go in there with the mindset that I don't care if I even get this deal, I'm going to connect with this individual emotionally. Because what you have to realize, guys, is that is the single biggest tool that you have, and the most important tool that you have in your tool bag. When listen to what I'm saying, that ability to connect with the seller. Okay, that ability to connect with the seller. When you get someone to like you, because you got there and you are, remember, we're in the business of problem solving. When you go in there with that mindset that I'm going to help this person solve a problem, and they see that there's a genuine sincerity in you listening to them and trying to understand this situation. I mean, and being willing to say, hey, Mr. Seller, you know what? I don't even know if I'm going to be your best option, but I'm willing to sit here and work with you and see what we can do because I realize that this has to work for you and it has to work for me. And when you go in there like that, guys, you're going to really start closing deals. Because one of the things that you're going to find as an investor, real estate investor, is that there's a negative connotation to that name in itself. Okay? There's a negative connotation to the name real estate investor. So when you knock on the door, one of the things you have to realize is that person on the other side of that door is afraid. Okay, he's already talked to a neighbor. They've already talked to a friend that said, hey, you calling those guys over there, they're not going to give you nothing for your house. Your house is worth 150. They're going to tell you want 40. Okay, they don't want that. That's what you're dealing with. The other thing is that in most cases, if you're dealing with a homeowner, most people are unlike us. They're going to buy one, maybe two houses in a lifetime. And so they're afraid. They're afraid that they're going to make a mistake. So those are the two biggest concerns that you have. And when you get them to drop their guard because you're going in that house and you're asking about the kids, you see a picture on the wall and who is that? That's your daughter. How old is she? You're trying to connect in some way, shape, or form. Walking through the house, who fishes? Who's the bowler in the house? I see a football trophy. Yeah. In my case, I see a football trophy. I see somebody in a football uniform. My son played in the NFL. I'm trying to connect in some way. Because the bottom line, guys, I use this acronym, and you guys might, if you're writing, you might want to write this down. I use the acronym FORM when I'm dealing with sellers. That acronym means FORM: friends, occupation, recreation, and then we're talking about motivation and or money. Okay, and you want to connect in one of those areas, okay, or as many of those areas as you possibly can, because when you make a connection with people that they let their guard down and they start to trust you, you may not make the best offer, Matter of fact, you might have an offer that's way less than everybody else's, but they like you. Understand something. Most people will do business with who they like. It's not about how professional your presentation was. It's not about how, how you actually presented and they thought you had the goods. As many of you could go into a property. Give you an example. We could go to the same house, and I go in there as polished as I could be. But then they call you and tell you they gave you the deal. They may have given you the deal because they connected with you and they liked you. They didn't like me. Okay? But they connected with you, so they decided to go with you. Maybe you're a young upstart, and the reason they connected with you was because they were trying to help you. You presented yourself in such a manner that they were trying to help you. One other thing I tell you when you're working with sellers is another acronym. I call it PEN. P-E-N. That means presentation, education, and then negotiation. That means you're going in with the mindset after you did all your form, you're going to present, okay? You're going to tell them the facts and the details about their situation, their house area, what their house is worth. You're going to educate. You're going to educate them on these processes that they're going to go through. And then after we do that, then we can better negotiate, okay? So one thing I would tell you, a lot of times we go into people's houses and we want to offer them something, and we looked at the comps or we looked at what properties are selling for, and you want to present all the house is worth $100,000. You found 2 or 3 comps for 40, 50 or whatever, and that's all you want to talk about. And then the seller busts you up because they tell you the house across the street sold for $115 3 weeks ago. So what you just done is you lost all credibility. You talk about all that stuff. I'm going to throw that high one in there, and I'm going to tell them about the low ones. So like I said, you want to establish credibility so that they feel like there's a level of trust. Because oftentimes one of the things I hear a lot of young investors always tell me is that, Tony, I went to the house, the seller signed the contract, but they called me today and told me they changed their mind. Okay? Because they had a chance to, they had a chance that husband and wife decided they needed to start talking about you and how that thing seemed, what that offer or whatever seemed flaky. That's because you didn't seal the deal. You weren't a closer. Okay? You were not a closer. You presented, but you didn't close. So that's something else we do. We close. We seal this thing. We get the seller nodding their head. Yes, we get them to agree on things. We're going to agree on price. We're going to agree on the closing date. We're going to agree on how much money you needed to move or whatever it is, because we want to get all those. We want to get all of those head nods going up front so that when we get to something that's going to be a subject of objection or contention, we've already got about 7 or 8 yeses. So we can kind of throw this one in now. Okay, and by the way, Mr. Seller, we're going to be taking over this property subject to your existing financing. I saved that for last, okay? Because the first thing they're going to say the first thing that seller is going to say is, what's that? And many of you have heard about it, and when you say it, you can't explain it. And so that's a fool that goes out here and doesn't hone their craft. If you're going to be in this business, the one thing I tell you to do, guys, is hone your craft. Practice. If you go somewhere and on an appointment and meet with the seller, and while you're actually negotiating and interacting with them, you're also evaluating yourself. Evaluate what I'm doing right here. Well, the seller asked me this, and I started looking like a deer in the headlights. Okay, so so one of the things I would tell you is that when you go on appointments, always evaluate yourself. When you leave that house, go down the street, go down the corner, get 2 or 3 minutes away, pull over, sit there and write stuff down and say, hey, when the seller asked me about this, I was stuck. I didn't know what to do. So that, because it's madness to keep doing the same thing over and over and never make the corrections. So that's one of the things. So always specialize in your craft and be willing to educate yourself to the fullest. Guys, you're in the business. I see many of you guys on Facebook pages and YouTube posting videos and pictures of 15, 20, 30, $40,000 checks and even higher. So you're in a business where you can get a substantial amount of money in one deal. So why not invest in this? Put some money in your head. You know, don't be afraid to get a mentor. And I'm not saying this because I mentor people or that my son mentors people as well. I couldn't mentor all of you anyway. I'm just telling you, find a good mentor or resource and be willing to pay that person to take you by the hand and to get you where you're trying to go. Why do you want to, if you're on a journey, don't you want to take the most expeditious path to get to wherever it is you want to go? Why are you going to be floundering, getting, screwing up stuff when you don't have to? When you know there's a big paycheck on the end of this, at the end of this rainbow. Okay, so that's some things that I would tell you. Some of you, I guess, have seen me on YouTube videos. For some of you guys that are scared, I'm always quoting statistics, okay, to people. Guys, in this great U.S. of A., the American dream ain't just the American dream is not what it's cut up to be. And so you can go and sacrifice your life exchanging hours for dollars with no end game if you want to. But if you've heard me speak before, many of you, you've heard me say these statistics, because these statistics are what actually drove me. These statistics are what actually kept me on fire from day to day. Okay, because I know that the reality is that I have a better likelihood of being successful doing what I'm doing right now in this business of real estate, which has created more millionaires and billionaires since in the last 87 years since the Great Depression. This industry that you're trying to strive to be in right now has created more millionaires and billionaires, and most millionaires and billionaires, if real estate didn't create their wealth, then it is a part of what they do to maintain that wealth. Okay, that's why you look on TV right now, whatever, and you see the president out here. They're talking about he ain't paid no taxes for 10 years and whatever. Okay, and this is not political, because this is certainly not a matter of political preference. But what I'm telling you is that most of what us lay people are complaining about is perfectly legal for what he's doing in his business. Okay, because they know how to work the system. And that's the power of what you know. That's why I'm always telling people all the time about the no's. Those no's are dangerous. I call them what you know, what you don't know, and what you don't know, you don't know. And each and every one of them costs you money. So learn, like I said, again, learn your craft, focus, and have a plan for where you want to go. And don't look at this business as, something like, don't strive for microwave success. Microwave success is what I tell people all the time. Microwave success is not real success. Okay? Because if you were going into a building, I often illustrate it like this. If you were going into a building, most of the time when we go into say we're going into a 10-story building, most of the time when we go into a building, there's going to be, when you get into that main lobby, you're going to see two things going on. You're going to see the elevator right here, and you're going to see the steps right here. Okay, so you're going to see that. You see the elevator and you see the steps. You got 10 floors. Most of y'all saying, I'll be John Brown if I'm going up them steps. Okay, and so we punch the button on the elevator and we go straight to the top. You sitting up there on the 10th floor. You proud of yourself. You sitting up, strutting, sitting back, looking out the window of the penthouse. Okay, because you think you've arrived. But now something happens on the first floor or the second floor or the third floor. And they're calling you and they say, Mr. Boss, we got a problem down here on the second floor. And you looking down at the second floor, you don't know what to do. You don't even have a clue. Why? Because you never experienced the steps. You never went up the steps, so you don't know how to handle the steps. So my message is, don't be afraid to take the steps, because when you take the steps, you learn the steps. Okay? And once you learn the steps, you like Mr. Robinson. Ain't nobody bad like me because I know the steps. And that's something that nobody can ever take away from you. When you put something in between your ears, when you put it between your ears and it's backed up on the hard drive, there ain't nothing nobody can do with you. Okay? So don't be afraid to educate yourself. And like I said, and get away from those statistics. Those statistics I'm talking about are these. This is doing it the American way. This is doing it the way a lot of us are doing it because mom and daddy told us to go to school and get good grades so that we could go to the next level of school, college or whatever, so we can be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever it is you aspired to be as a kid and get a great job, just over broke, is what it stands for. Working for somebody else, and they determine your value by what they're willing to pay you. Doing it the American way. Some of you have heard me say this before, but I want to just say it again because this inspires me. This is what keeps me going all the time. Out of 100 people who start working at age 25, by the time they turn 65, 1% are wealthy, 4 people have adequate capital for retirement, 3% are still working, 63% are dependent on friends, Social Security, the government, and everything else, and 29% are dead. If you heard what I just said, that means that out of 100 people who start working when they turn 25, when they turn 65, only 5 people. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people can take care of themselves. That's doing it the American way. So what I'm trying to tell you is if you're going to be afraid of anything, and Mr. Robinson didn't make up those statistics, those statistics come from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, that's the reality. If basically, guys, look the other statistic: 49.33% of people in this country make less than $30,000 a year. Half the country makes less than $30,000 a year. You can do that in one deal. You do one deal, you've already just about blew out half the people in this country. Only 5% of the population makes better than $100,000 a year. And then you can go in between that and you figure out the rest. So my question to you is, once you know, when you know better, you do better. So since I just gave you the reality, what are you going to do to make a difference in your life? What are you going to do to change that family tree? What are you going to do to change those generational cycles in your family? Oftentimes I have people when I'm mentoring and coaching that tell me that, hey, Tony, I hear all that stuff you talk about, but nobody in my family ever completed high school, or the highest anybody went was high school. My father was in jail. My mother wasn't there. My aunt told me I wasn't going to be nothing. And we live those things. But you're better than that. You're better than that. Go look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm better than that. So like I said, when you know better, you do better. If you heard me at the We Live thing or whatever, one of the things I always tell people as well when we start counting on jobs, like we're going to be there till we get tired. There's 2 doors in life. You got one door marked freedom and you got that one door marked security. Most of us want to choose that door marked security, meaning that 9-to-5 job, guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever. But when you choose that door, you lost your freedom and you lost your security because somebody else is controlling your destiny. And again, you're bigger than that. You're better than that. And like I said, I'm a believer. I believe that God's got your back. He's got your back. You step out a little bit on faith, he'll do the rest. Some of us need a kick in the pants, which means that kick in the pants means that maybe you lost a job or maybe you had something happen that took you out of that comfortable situation to make you have to do something else. Sometimes we won't realize our destiny until we get away from that comfortable situation. And then the other thing is realizing that everybody that you think is your friend, you're going to have to cut some people loose when you're trying to strive for something bigger and better. Everybody might not be able to ride. Pookie and everybody might not be able to go. Okay, because you're going to, believe it or not, you got some haters on your team. Most of what I'm talking about right now is just about life. I can talk about real estate, but most of you need to learn something right here and have a mind shift change. Okay, a shift in paradigms and mindset. Okay, back in the day, you might remember some of this stuff. before cell phones had the unlimited minutes and all the stuff that we have nowadays. There was a date and time where, you know, you had to, you know, back years ago where you got charged for your minutes and you paid for minutes. And these packages that we have today were non-existent. So what I'm saying is that I remember T-Mobile used to have something they used to call your Fave 5. That means that they had a program that you could put in your 5 favorite people, and you could talk to them anytime, all day long, and whatever. Because some people you had to wait and start talking at 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. You could talk all you want, but during the day they charge you behind. Okay, and you had your Fave 5. One of the things I tell people about your Fave 5 is that everybody in your Fave 5 is not necessarily your fave, because some people don't want to see you successful. They want you to be stuck with them. Understand that. Some people, this is not to say that we judge people by how much money they have and whatever, but I can just about guarantee you, for each and every person on this call, if you tell me what your circle looks like, you tell me 5 people that are the closest to you, I can bet that you're almost the sum of what they are. So basically what I'm saying is, if you have 5 people you surround yourself with, and Charlie makes $50,000 and Susie makes $60,000, Alan makes $50,000, Joe makes $40-something, and Pookie makes whatever, makes $50,000, then just go ahead and figure out the sum, because you'll be making about the same same amount of money as they do. So, you know, step outside of your circle. Be willing to step outside of your circle sometimes and do something bigger and better than what you see yourself doing right this moment. Talking about real estate. When we start talking about real estate, guys, I equate this real estate game to like playing Monopoly. Playing Monopoly in real life. If any of you have heard me speak before, usually I have a Monopoly board that I'm demonstrating to you. When you play this game, guys, and you learn the rules, and that's the thing I try to tell most people. If you never played Monopoly before, which many of you in this real estate game, and this fits exactly, you fit right into this scenario that I'm talking about. You don't know anything about this real estate business, but you're trying to go out here and give it all you got. But going back to the Monopoly board scenario, if you never played Monopoly before, then the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up the box and take out the darn rule book and read the rules so you can know how to play. Once you learn the rules, you can play the game. And so one of the things, guys, that I would tell you guys is try to go out and not just learn how to do deals, but learn the rules, because you're in a business. And if you go out and make a mistake, and I'm sorry, and nobody ever told me that ain't going to get you off. So it's important, that you learn the rules. And so once you learn the rules, then we got to get analysis paralysis out of the way, because we got to be willing to roll the dice and get off a go so that we can play the game. And so, guys, like I said, I encourage you guys, you guys, seeing all you younger guys out here getting in this game and trying to do something to change your life truly inspires me. I'm just going to tell you, like I said, for some of you guys, the great thing about this business is that you can do you in this business. You don't have to do what I say. You don't have to do what Tony says. You can find your own path. Okay? You can find your own path. But like I said, like I was saying earlier, it's important that you establish a goal and develop a plan for you to achieve that goal. I said this earlier, and I think I got so excited I'll talk myself. But one of the things I tell people is that if I have a compass, and I have a compass in my hand, and for many of you that ever saw a compass before, if you have a compass and that compass points north, south, east, and west, giving you the direction you're going, I don't care what's going on. That compass is totally irrelevant to you if you don't know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, you're just taking a walk. So develop a plan so you know where you're going and you can see yourself being there. And then set benchmarks to go back and evaluate where you are relative to your plan, and make the necessary adjustments if you need to, so that you can stay on track. And the importance of it's important to have a plan. one of the things that I also see in this business is that many people that get in this business and they decide they're going to leave their job, they don't have the mindset to work. And so you don't have to punch a clock. So you're trying to figure out why you're not being successful. And you say you want to be a millionaire, but you're looking at Sports Center at 11:30 in the morning. And you've been looking at it for the last 3 hours because you didn't have to punch any clock. Okay. So you have to be able to discipline yourself and understand that this business works when you work. Okay. This business works when you work. So, you know, the thing about having a plan is it keeps you focused, because you might have a plan and your plan is to go this way. But today, something happens that takes you over here. Tomorrow, something happens that takes you over here. And many people get screwed up because if you never know that your destination is over here because you haven't planned for it, you can find yourself constantly doing one thing after another and never actually start to reach your objective because we're fixing holes in the ship. So that's learn the business, strive for it.
Hey, Dad, heads up. We got about probably another 6 minutes. It goes on hour interval. So
Okay.
we can if it ends, just so it ends, I don't know what your schedule's like. If you got time to go for an extra 20, 30 minutes, whatever's up to you, I just want to give you a heads up. I'll
probably give you 20 more minutes after, but yeah. Okay. But the thing like I said, guys, I just encourage you just to develop a plan, believe in yourself, and know that this business is not just for me or Tony or somebody that you have seen out here and thought they were doing well. Hey, this business is for you if you apply yourself and stay focused. I've seen a lot of stuff in this business. Like I said, I've been around 23 years. One of the things I would tell you guys is always, I try to tell people to try to focus on having a multiple streams of income approach to doing this business. Because when you have multiple streams, you always have something working for you. So basically what I tell people is just like if you were on a job and you were investing or you had a mutual fund and you're investing in aggressive funds and moderate funds and conservative funds, you don't have all your eggs in one basket. You got all these different things working for you so that you always try to stay ahead and steadily trying to increase your monetary value as you go along. Same thing in real estate. Have different buckets working for you. If you desire to be a wholesaler, wholesale and make sure and be good at it. The only thing I tell people about wholesaling is that you never own anything. You just keep flipping properties. The wealth building component of this business comes from what you own. Yes, you can be a multi-millionaire in wholesaling. You guys have seen many of them. But one of the things I tell people all the time is that wholesaling business works as long as you work. That flipping business works as long as you're working. But when you start putting houses, like I said, when going back to that monopoly board scenario, when you start putting houses on your board, all right, then that's your microeconomy. That's the economy that you control. So if the real estate market should suffer and go have a downturn, you're still fine because you can raise rents, you can lower rents because you bought at less than fair market value. You can have a fire sale if you want to, because if you bought $100,000 house for $60,000 and the market has a downturn, well, you can sell it at $70,000 and you still didn't lose money. So, and the other thing about it is when you own property, guys, I call that the wealth building component of this business. The wealth building comes from what you own, not how much you can get wealthy flipping a bunch of houses. But the other person that's getting wealthy with you is that silent person that you didn't know was on your team. And that silent person that you didn't know was in your business is Uncle Sam. Because every time you get one of those big fat paydays, he had a big fat payday as well. And so we have to learn how to minimize our tax consequences in a manner that allows us to keep more of our capital in our pockets. And oftentimes that comes from how you structure yourself. Entity structure is important. It's important. I'm saying it again, it's important to structure yourself accordingly. You know, I see many people that go out here and, you know, and I just tell people all the time, why are we so darn cheap with things that matter? You know, oftentimes I see people that, you know, they tell me they got a company. I ask them, what kind of company you got? Oh, I got an LLC. I got a S corporation. I got a C corporation. And I said, okay, so how did you do it? Well, how did you get your company? I went on the Secretary of State's website, paid $200, and I got my company. Well, it's a little bit more to it than that. And you need to know what you're actually doing, because one size doesn't fit all. You know, if you're flipping properties, you might not want just the standard LLC, because now you're going to have higher tax consequences. You may want an S corporation or an LLC taxed as an S corporation. Okay, there's different, you know, so I said one size doesn't fit all. So it's important that you know what you're doing and what your objectives are, so that when you're out here doing stuff, you get the highest and most effective use of the business entity that you're in. Okay, because you don't want, Uncle Sam, you don't want to find out that you made $100,000 and you've been vacationing for the last 4 or 5 months, and now April 15th roll around and you find out Uncle Sam want like $42,000. And for many of you heard me talk about this, and you talking about, yo home, I ain't got it. Can I put some on it? Ain't gonna work like that. So you need to know that you need to be business minded in this business as well. So again, guys, there's so many things that you can do through this real estate venue. There's so many different paths that you can take. So again, try to strive to put yourself in more than one box. You know, you want to have several things working for you, so that you always have a constant influx of cash flow. Guys, I can tell you right now that when I started doing this business 23 years ago, if anybody would ever have told me that I could command an audience of anybody that would even listen to me, I would tell them they was full of it, because I had no aspiration to think that of what this real estate business was going to actually do for me, what the freedom that it was going to allow me to have. For those of you that don't know, my wife and I, we have 7 different businesses. Have 2 real estate holding companies, an acquisition company, a real estate mentoring and coaching company, a property management company, a real estate brokerage firm. I mean, and on and on. So enough about enough about me, but I built all these businesses, and we've had success with all of these businesses at various levels. But the thing I would tell you again is, don't be afraid to fail. Failure is just propelling you to your level, to your success and your destiny.
Information about what he's actually doing right now. He actually has a actual training that's approaching, I believe, next weekend. And we're I'm gonna give him the keys to let you guys have an understanding of what you can expect going into that actual live training, because this is gonna be some hands-on stuff that you can actually probably leave with your structures and things put together. So tell me about the event you got going on.
Okay, I'll do one thing first.
Okay.
All right, y'all hold just a second.
So while he's grabbing that, in Charlotte, May 18th and 19th, there it is, the Monopoly board. He went and got the Monopoly board for everybody.
So again, this is my challenge to each and every person on this chat right now, is that you go out somewhere and purchase you a Monopoly board. Mr. Robinson told you go get your Monopoly board, and you start creating your economy, your micro economy, that economy that you control, because this is what's going to retire you and your family. This is what's going to give you a pathway to do anything that you want to do in your life, to achieve anything that you've ever dreamed for when you establish your economy. And when you look at your board, I want you to get this board and you put this board somewhere in your house, conspicuous, where you have to see it everywhere you go. Walking down the hallway, going into the bedroom, whatever it is, you have to pass by this board, because this board should motivate you. Because if you walk by there and you don't see nothing on that board, you know you ain't doing nothing. Okay. And this board, like I said, if all you do is flip houses, and every time you get a house, you put it on your board, and then you sell it, it never looks like you playing the game. When you look at this board right now, you see money around the board, you see houses on the board, you see the deeds and the title deeds and all that stuff, all the apartment stuff. It looks like somebody is playing. If I walked into your house right now and told you, let me see your economy, what would your board look like? And for some people, if you've been out here 3, 4, 5 years and you can't show me your board, and I'm like, okay, well, you look like your stuff's still in the box. And so again, build your economy. Build your economy, because I can tell you, if some of you guys, I'm new to the Instagram stuff, but I put a post out there at my mother's house last weekend. And so I'm always talking about me. Let me talk about my mom, Tony's grandma. She bought a house in 1966 in Washington, D.C. for $27,800. She rented the house for about a year, and she asked the owner, could she buy it? And she convinced the owner to sell it to her by virtue of seller finance. She agreed on a price, $27,800. Okay, the owner financed it for her. She made payments, paid the house off many years ago, and that house today is worth $1.25 million. Every house on the block, there's 13 houses on that block. Every one of them is worth $1.25 million or more. So when I go back and reflect on that, and I think about it, when I say greatest, y'all like to say GOAT, greatest of all time, I tell my mother she had to be the greatest of all time.